Let's call this the March 5th Super Tuesday Norwalk Arts and Cultural Commission meeting order. Quick roll call. Brian Casper, Chair, present. Bob Abriola.
Present.
Stephen Rust.
Here.
Melissa Matuska.
Here.
And Nori Gruden.
Here.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to school today. Sabrina, can you put the agenda up for me?
Yep, give me just 1 second.
Yep.
I just have to fix
I'm
my.
on my iPad. I'm sorry, I'm like looking down at everyone. It feels weird. So where's the camera? Is it here?
It looks kind of straight on-ish.
Ish. Okay. Roll call. Public participation. Do we have anyone from the public who would like to address the commission?
So we have one individual here, but she's sitting in to test the waters if she would like to join the commission. So put on a good show tonight. Janae, do you want
always.
Janae, do you want to say hi? You don't have to, but if you want to,
Yeah.
you can unmute yourself and say hi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, hi everyone. Yeah, my name is Janae Sylvester. I'm excited to just be able to sit in and get a little more of a feel for it.
Great. Well, we're glad you're here. It's a pretty good spectator sport.
Yeah.
I guess a little about me. Just I moved to North around 4 years ago, and just I do music. I'm marketing during the day, music at most of the other times, and so I just had a general interest in kind of what was happening in Norwalk, and then I kind of stumbled upon the site, and that's kind of where my interest kind of spawned from. So again, I'm really interested to hear what you're all working on, and maybe be a part of the commission.
Great. Well, we're glad you're here. I'm also always available for coffee if you ever like to grab coffee and pick my brain a little bit about what we do. More than happy to meet up with you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Of course. Okay. Anyone else from the public, Sabrina?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Moving on. Approving the minutes of the February 6th meeting. Did everybody have a chance to look at said minutes?
Yep. I was good with it.
Did anyone have any issues or corrections to those minutes? Okay.
No.
Do we have a motion to
A motion to
approve the minutes? Thank you, Bob. Do we have a second?
Aye.
Thank you, Nori. Brian Casper, I vote aye. Bob Abriola.
Aye.
Stephen Rust.
Aye.
Nori Gruden.
Aye.
Melissa Matuska.
Aye.
And we're recognizing that Mark Allen has joined the meeting.
Mark Allen, aye.
Thank you, Mark. I also got a text from Naomi just now, said she's running a little late. She's coming. All right, the ayes carry. Approve the minutes. Okay,
I'm sorry, I missed the roll call.
it's all good.
I didn't
You're here
realize what
now.
I was voting for, so now that I know it's for the minutes, I say aye.
Thank you.
He comes into the meeting. Aye. I don't know what I'm voting,
Yeah.
for, but aye.
He's
We were
running us
voting
out.
to get you off the commission, Mark.
That's fine.
Yeah, see ya.
That's fine. I've done my job.
Okay, moving on to new business, budget review with Bob.
Yes.
Anything new to share, Bob?
I can share. Yeah. You cannot start share while the other participant is sharing. All right.
Oh, Sabrina's sharing.
Unshare.
You should be able to share now.
Yeah. Let's take a look here. All right. There's two. There's the commission and then there's the capital project. So I'll do the commission. Let me know if you guys can see that.
Yep, see that, yep.
So there's the budget summary that lists everything. Each one of these tabs represent the various and we haven't really spent any money. That the bottom line on this budget is there's really not that much. The Tedesco and and other professional services. So
Yeah, that's something we're gonna actually get into a little bit with
$2,000.
when
You know,
we have Mark chatting here about some event possibilities.
Yeah.
Um,
so there's
but-
plenty of money in there. We have 12,000.
okay, so less. Sabrina, I'm just doing quick math here. Less the Telesco, we have, it looks like 11, just over $11,000. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really much to update here.
Yeah,
Like you
there's
said, not much has been spent.
We have money here to spend. So
Yep. Don't worry, we're gonna
we need to
come up with a
spend
way.
it, right? It's
Yeah.
I think it goes through June, right? June.
Yep.
July 1st.
Well, let's put that to good
Hold on,
use.
let me mute this.
Yeah, we have something for you, Bob. Don't worry. We're gonna
Okay. And
Make
then
use of the money.
Capital, hold on a second, let me find that. Here we go. Yeah, so capital, there's quite a bit in there.
Yeah. That's wait, you are not alone is on there twice.
Yeah, it's just because we paid them in two
Oh,
separate.
that's right. That's right. We bumped up that one.
Also, this account, once the contract is signed with MJ and Josh, it'll be $50,000 less, and it'll clear out. The MLK account, we'll spend that out, and then we'll spend out the first arts and public places, and then some of the second art and public places. But we'll still have, 220 in there.
All right. Okay. Great. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on this? This hasn't changed, so
No, nothing's changed here.
okay.
Same a thing, man. Same a thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Budget Wizard.
Yes, you got it.
Moving on. Sabrina, can you pull the agenda again, please? Okay. So this actually is a great segue into the events update. So as we talked about last meeting, Ava stepped down from the commission, which leaves us an open seat. So that means our events are obviously going to be sort of a little bit hodgepodge for a minute, but one of the possibility that Mark and I have talked about many times is the idea to bring in some sort of live music event, something that's kind of low key, think like Tiny Desk concert or something of that nature. Mark and I chatted about last week, and he said that he was game to kind of get this moving. And when Sabrina and I discussed, we talked about using the remaining balance, which looks like it's about $11,400 of the operating budget, which, by the way, we need to spend before July. Using that $11,000, since we have nothing really else coming down the pipeline, to get this event series started. And Sabrina suggested doing this in conjunction with the Sonos Stride event that she's putting on with Anna. So I guess maybe Sabrina, do you want to chat a little bit about Sonos Stride, and then maybe Mark can chime in on how he thinks he can potentially make this work?
Sure. So
yeah.
the Sonos Stride series will be monthly. It's usually the second weekend, like the weekend of like the 10th, 11th, 12th, kind of that kind of weekend. The first one is going to be April 13th and 14th, I believe, are the dates. And essentially what we're doing is using 3 of the empty storefronts on Washington Street, and within those storefronts having different themed type of markets and events. So the first one's going to be Then and Now. So it's a vintage market in each of the storefronts with a bunch of vendors in those storefronts. And I pitched to Brian that we can have, musicians and, poets or whoever, live artists, anything kind of that we would like in those storefronts as well, to have like a separate attraction there. So that's kind of the gist of it.
Excellent.
That sounds great.
Yeah, so the idea is we already have basically an event already going on, some of those inner workings already happening, and really a captive audience for us to get this idea moving, which is something that Mark has long talked about doing. So I'll let Mark speak to that a little bit.
So the reason I'm excited about this is because it's kind of like the continuation of what I had originally had done on Wall Street, which was basically a bite off of the Porch Fest. It was the idea of doing live music in places that are not normally music venues. They do porches. I said, let's do it in retail stores. And the idea was, for that was, you're bringing people into retail stores, maybe stores that they don't ordinarily go to for a small event. And then that sort of dovetailed into the idea of doing Make Music Day, which I was one of a small handful of people that started officially in NOLA. On that day, we did 40 events in one day. This is a lot less, and it's only once a month. So it's to me, it's really, really manageable, and I think it's really exciting. And I think the idea is to live music, and poetry, we open it up, but it should be very much like Brian said, tiny desks, small groups. It should be like solo artist, maybe a duet, maybe a trio, but very sort of acoustic minded. It could be amplified, but it would be relatively lower volume. So when people are walking in and out, you're not walking in with their fingers in their ears. They're coming in to enjoy the music and to be a part of the overall event. I would see, and unless you had an idea, Brian or Sabrina, to name this something unique, I think it could be just curated within Sono Stride, right?
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily, at least for this kind of first go, we don't necessarily need to make it its own thing with its own name. Just no sense in kind of confusing people. And we can just sort of piggyback onto this event already existing that the city's spending marketing dollars on.
Yeah. So as far as how I primarily recruited the artists through my network of people that I know, but it is through social media. Sabrina, are you cool if I put out a call for looking for live music for Sono Stride?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't think we need to make it more confusing. It has to be, I think we just kind of tap into some of our connections we already have.
Yeah.
Spread the word, get people, excited. So maybe people pop up who we may not have heard of or are not in our networks. But I'm also comfortable with letting Mark, curate this. This is his world. So that was sort of my intention with this.
Cool. And
Mark, do you have any indication of what just over $11,000 would get you in terms of how many artists for how many months we're doing this? This is scheduled through December, right, Sabrina?
We're planning on doing it continuously. We're hoping it doesn't stop ever. But as of right now, we at least have the next 3 months planned and programmed.
Okay.
so
Mark, how far do you think this money would go? How many of those weekends do you think we'd be able to cover?
I think let me ask you a couple of questions. Is there a sort of a timeline for a day's event for Sono Sip and Stride? Is there like a start time or an end time?
Sabrina.
We have the dates set, yeah, but a time frame, you mean, for how it's gonna go?
Like a given day.
During that day.
Like, is it noon to 6? Is it?
Yeah, we have those times. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but the Sunday one's starts a little bit earlier, ends a little bit earlier. I think it's like noon to 5, and then the one beforehand, I think it's like 2 to 8 or something like that. I'll have to get them to you. I don't know them off the top of my head, but it's something like that.
So then the other question I have is just thinking out loud, but do we envision maybe like a schedule so we don't have 2 things happening at the exact same time? We kind of like, maybe one in one space, and then a later day, another in another space, and then another later day, another in another space. So maybe 3 in one day.
I think
say
that's, yeah.
Go ahead, Sabrina.
From the market perspective, it doesn't matter. The markets will just go on. So from the music perspective, whatever you think will work best.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark, even if it ends up just being, one key artist on the weekend, for some of the later hours or something like that, I would say, I would defer to your expertise and what you think is fair to pay the artist and what to ask of them. If someone wants to play all day, hey, go ahead and play all day, obviously with, a break in between and stuff, but.
Yeah, it could be maybe a 2-set situation. Okay. So I really basically, I'm gonna look at the weekends on paper and kind of like look at the hours, and we can try some different scenarios. And really, it's just, it comes down to, if let's say 10 grand, and we're gonna divide that up between the weekends. It's really just comes down to how much can we pull off with this amount of money, where we're not spread too thin, you know?
Okay.
And I would say, you had originally said, can you come up with a proposal in 2 weeks? So if I could have another week to sort of
Yeah.
map
Yeah,
out
yeah.
a rough schedule, and then I could come back to you. And then ultimately, then I put out the call, and then ultimately it's a matter of, you know, people are gonna come back and they're gonna say, hey, I'm available, blah, blah, blah. But I
Yeah.
will say this, Make Music Day, nobody got paid anything. People were still willing to play. I don't like asking musicians to play for free, but that doesn't mean they're gonna be expensive. So
Okay.
in the interest of, you know, this is something I learned a while back. You can pay them for based on like you're telling them that it's a community event and we're paying for their expenses, and it is a nominal fee. It's not like, you know, they're coming in where they're negotiating. And I think that the fact that we're willing to pay artists, you know, whatever, a couple $100 or whatever, is going to be well received.
Yeah.
I believe. And
Okay.
those are the people that get it are the people that we want, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, by all means, we can we can sort of vote on this spending next meeting. That's, you know, with potentially getting someone lined up ahead of that, just for that April event.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
but I guess
I think Danny's students will probably pay for free, but of course he'll want the money for himself. Like I have students that will play. We all, you know, there's a ton of musicians in Norwalk.
Cool.
People have no
Yeah.
idea. So I apologize for what I said. I didn't mean it.
no, wait. Okay, so then I guess that just leaves, you know, first up, does anyone who might want to help Mark on this, by
Yeah,
all means,
I'm
touch base with him.
This is Melissa. I would like to help.
Excellent. Thanks,
great.
Melissa.
So by all means. And in terms of
And
spreading
go
the
ahead.
word, however, however we want to go through our personal networks, I'm open to.
Yeah. I think for something like this, it's acceptable for us to basically curate it. I don't think we need to do sort of an official call, at least for this first go, and then hopefully, if they're successful, we can, you know, people will be coming to us for it. But yeah,
And
does
the-
anyone have any
The only thing I
questions or sorry, go
The
ahead.
thing I
Mark.
want to add before that is like, the first Make Music Day, we really went out of our way to provide in certain places like powered speakers for people to just show up and plug in. Sometimes artists will come and they'll be a little bit more self-contained. I prefer it's the kind of artists who are self-contained. So we're not providing, we don't have to have a technician there to set them
Right.
up. Everything. It should be kind of like people that are going to play at any local bar or restaurant or street corner, that they are
Yeah.
self-contained.
I'd say
And-
even if someone's playing electric, they likely have an amp, and that's probably
Yeah, we have to
sufficient for this
provide
venue.
electricity, and we have to provide a space. That's really it.
Hey,
Yep.
Mark, do you remember again how long people will be playing for, so I can go ahead and pitch to people?
I mean,
It's whatever, really.
maybe we'd say two
2 hours.
sets of 45 minutes to an hour, 2 sets with a, you know,
Okay.
it might be, you know, that there's a break in between, and I would say something like that as a starting point. But
One
look,
question
you know, if you have
on,
somebody who comes in who says, I have 5 songs, and you don't want to turn them away, that's fine too. You know, we can always, we're starting off with basically a constructive, a rough outline, but that doesn't mean we can't be flexible if we have
Yeah.
a bunch of kids who are going to do 3 songs. And
Mark,
Steve had
one
something to say.
question. Yeah, just wondering, did you say it's not limited to Norwalk residents only, right?
No,
It could be open to anyone who wants.
I say
yeah.
whoever. Anyone wants to
Okay.
come play music for us, I'll take it.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
good. Okay, thanks.
Also, Mark, and Melissa, I guess, It's Saturday, April 13th from 3 to 8 p.m. And then it's Sunday
Oh.
on the 14th from 12 to 5.
Nice.
Great. So like you have a 3 o'clock, a 5 o'clock, and a 7 o'clock. You know,
Great.
that could be great.
Yeah, and I think it could just be in one of the spaces, Mark. You don't have to necessarily do all 3 retail spaces too.
Yeah,
But whatever we get, you know.
we could have the music featured spot. And
There
if
you
you
go.
and then I could go. I'm going to California tomorrow, but I'll be back Monday, and I could go there and look at the 3 spots, and we could just figure out which one is logistically best.
Perfect. Sabrina, can you get that info to Mark?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Mm.
Okay. Anyone else have any considerations for Mark while he's putting this together? Okay. Cool. Working our way down the agenda. Is Naomi here? Did she join? I'm on the not on the gallery view. No. Well,
No, she's not here.
yeah, she said she's gonna be 10 minutes late. All right. Well, if she comes, well, perhaps I'll just slide her in when she comes for the update. Okay. So we have here a discussion on the agenda, on the poet laureate process, which Mark had brought up in an email because he got an email from someone else asking what our selection process was. Mark and Sabrina, do either one of you want to chime in on this?
Well, we had gotten an email to the old Live Love Norwalk email address from another town. I believe it was the town of Windsor, and they have a new arts commission, and they decided that they wanted to follow in Norwalk's footsteps and choose a poet laureate and everybody knows what a poet laureate is. Yeah. Basically, it's like we had the national poet. Cities have a poet that kind of represents them from a poetry
Right.
standpoint. Sometimes they're public speakers, sometimes they write special poems for special events and things like that. Anyway, we have one in Norwalk. I don't know how it was chosen, but we had a poet laureate, and the program was funded between the Arts Commission, the original Arts Commission, and Norwalk Public Library. And I believe we both contributed money to that. And
Mark, I know I remember what the process was, if you don't.
Yeah,
And
take it
I
away.
did the interviews.
Oh,
And the
Okay. There we go.
library took the lead on this because Cindy, who was the director of the library, took lead and got people from the community who knew about poetry, and they voted on who was going to be the poet laureate after they applied for it. So we kind of funded it, helped fund this, but they took the lead on everything.
I got it. So we don't know now at this point if that program technically still exists. Since the library management has all changed, we don't really know.
guys, 1 second. I just want to
Yeah.
recognize that Naomi Clark has joined the role.
They probably still have the guidelines because Sherelle might have been, whoever, I think she's the director of the library now, may have been a part of the process. So she might have all that logistics there. Also, I think it was Lauren was the first one, and I don't remember the gentleman's name. They would also probably remember what
Yeah.
occurred for them to get it.
So Laurel was great. The new person, well, Laurel served 3 years. I don't know if there was even a kind of term limit. It probably wasn't defined. Laurel did 3 years and felt like she had had enough. Although she did a great job. And Bill Hayden is the present one. He had kind of taken the position, but it was just prior to COVID. So COVID basically obviously wiped out any sort of in-person poetry events. So I think, as far as I know, I think Bill, I haven't seen him or heard from him in probably a year or so. I did see an email about a Zoom poetry event, maybe a month ago or so. But in general, when the person from Windsor wrote to us to say, hey, Norwalk, we're looking for guidelines on how to start this. Can you tell us what your selection process is? Do you have a committee? Blah, 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 a bunch of questions. And I was like, you know what? I really don't even know how to answer the questions. And it kind of got my wheels thinking, maybe this is an opportunity for us, because realistically, if we had funded this from the old Arts Commission with the new commission, we really have to sort of reignite that if we're going to be involved with it. And
Mhm.
I think that it's probably an opportunity for us to have a, to look at what that selection process is and make sure that it's in place. Maybe we just simply call Sherelle and say, hey, is this something you guys are still actively wanting to do? And can we, we can work together with you like we did in the past.
Yeah,
I think
Melissa has her hand up.
Bill is still the poet laureate as far as I know. But I don't know. The other idea I had was to maybe think in the future about a junior poet laureate that we could pull from the students. So a younger person, in a sense of kind of diversity, opening it up to, to a younger set and to encourage poetry from our.
Mhm.
That's a good idea.
Melissa, you have your hand up.
These are all great ideas. I will say, when Laurel was on it, she did an excellent job, and she actually brought in poet laureates from like DC and worked with the community college. There were a number of things, and it was a very active group. And that's one of the reasons why we were funding it. The newer person, I would say, is not as active as I am aware of. And I think partly because he came in shortly before COVID. And so I don't know if then after the transition that they had at the library, that might have impacted it as well. So I don't know if he's as active. So I think a big portion of that has to do with the leadership of who the poet laureate is. So I think we'd want to also talk to the library and kind of get a sense for that, because it was a very much different program when Laurel was there.
I mean, it'd be great to get it going again, which brings up the question we ask every time is who wants to head this up, because someone's got to take the reins. No one has to answer this right this second, but if this is of interest, I agree, Melissa, we should be working with the library on this. This is partly their wheelhouse. But we need someone to kind of jump in and reignite it.
Brian, I'll talk to Sherelle and see what they're doing before somebody commits to it.
I
And
think
then
that's a good idea.
And then I'll send an email out to you guys to let you know kind of what
Cool.
she's.
Great.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I mean, Bill, not to say that this is about taking it away from him, but I think it's a matter of just sort of redefining the role we want out of that person, and and trying to I like that word reignite, because I think we want to, we want to make it everything that it can be. And I think it's kind of a public position because it represents the city of Norwalk. So I don't think it should just be like, I think it should be somebody who's kind of like, Laura was very public, and she ran events, and she did a lot of cool stuff, and I'd like to get back to that if we can.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. Well, we'll hear from the library, and then we'll jump back in on it. Okay. So Naomi's here. Naomi, do you have any updates on the teaching fellowship stuff? Sliding back in the agenda by one here.
Hi everybody. Good to see people. Yeah, I've been in contact with Sandra, who's the assistant superintendent at Norwalk Public Schools. And she had been, so it was kind of tied to this attendance thing that Danny was working on. Danny, are you here? So she was kind of
Danny's not here.
Here an update about this attendance kind of like incentive program that would incentivize with kind of like around the town gifts of like like a free pizza kind of thing for attendance at schools. So Danny and her were working on that. But so I don't totally, that's kind of Danny's thing, but I'm gonna circle back with the artist residency and just see if we can meet just on that instead of the two things.
Okay.
So that's, and then I have an email into Guggenheim to just check on the stipend, although who was worried about the stipend not being enough?
I think Melissa brought that up.
That
last
was
week.
me, Melissa.
I'm not super concerned about that. Are you still?
I just wanted to make sure that it met the industry as far as we were talking
It
about.
definitely does in my experience, as far as like things, it goes above and beyond many things that I see out there.
Yeah.
For
And as a
Norwalk
reminder,
artist- Sorry, for a Norwalk artist or for a local artist? Because I think that's the bigger challenge here is that we're talking about a a New York market who would be coming up here.
Oh yeah, no,
that-
I'm talking about that too, definitely.
yeah, as a reminder, Naomi teaches at Greenwich Country Day, so she's
Got my typer.
familiar. Look at her; she's
But
got
yeah,
school
I'm
colors on and
pretty
everything.
familiar with the with salaries and stipends for artist residencies, part-time artist teaching things. I mean, this is what I've kind of worked in for the past 20 years, so I do feel like 35,000 is quite generous as far as I mean, it's going to be a big lift. It's part-time, but part-time teaching tends to be a big lift. But as far as how I've seen things advertised in the past, it's really quite up to par with that.
Just to ask, where is this person teaching out of? Did we decide that? Or is that?
No, we don't have any
Sandra
person.
had pinpointed some schools that she thought would be good. Let me grab my notebook. I have it written down. If I can share, or maybe I'll just share in an email later. But she had pinpointed we think high school, and start with one school that she had already had some kind of programs incubated at, so to speak. And then from there, see if other schools would be interested, see how it works, and then kind of extend out and down. But start with the high school and kind of work its way down the roster of K through 12. Hopefully, would be really cool.
Okay.
And we don't need approval from the school board to do this?
Well, this is the school board's money,
Yeah,
technically.
I'm
Oh.
speaking for Sandra, and so she's, I assume she has that part of it in her wheelhouse if that will be needed. But I foresee it being part of the budget of us and them, and theirs would probably be towards a teaching budget of sorts. There's a lot of part-time faculty at different schools in sports and in the arts. So I think it would roll into that. And I don't know the exact details of approval, but she did not mention anything like of that when we met back in December.
Okay.
I was just curious. I was
Is it-
curious.
sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is this during the day or is it like an after-school program?
No, this would be hopefully during the day, a couple days a week. And ideally I envision it, the person would come and really work with the art teachers that are already there to kind of come up with a project that would be, exciting to all of them as a community.
Okay.
I
Alright.
feel like it's a way to infuse art into K through 12 in the public schools, and I think that would go a long way to support the arts in the future in Norwalk.
Well, in a way for us to be in the conversation for arts education within Norwalk, because I think there's a lot of things that we do that could be easily tied into our youngest citizens. For instance, MJ and Josh have already expressed interest in either talking to the schools or even doing a workshop or something of that nature.
Yeah.
So every time we have these visiting artists coming to do these things, that we already have some of these systems in place, even loosely, and some of these connections, it'd be easy enough to insert people into these environments, which I think would be really beneficial.
I agree. And I think that just activates the community in such like a ground up way, because these are really, you know, the kids that go to school in Norwalk are living in Norwalk, are Norwalk families. And I think that's an integral part of the conversation into growing the exposure and enthusiasm for arts in our community.
Yep.
What I like about this is that you're introducing either a professional artist or somebody who's like an accomplished artist to these kids. And the thing about art and teaching art and arts is that you're not necessarily teaching these kids how to actually develop careers in these fields. We're teaching them about how to be artists, but we're not teaching them how to necessarily be professional artists. So I think it's great when you can introduce a professional to it,
Absolutely.
somebody, and give them a kind of a path on how they could pursue, you know, such an occupation.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. I completely.
It's also about art appreciation, right? You get somebody coming in, maybe they can't be an artist or don't want to be one, but they learn more about the arts and as a whole.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like to say to my students that I want them to be able to make art, think about art, and talk about art, the whole kind of spectrum of it. I think it's a good ecosystem to have swirling around. And yeah, just, you know, exposure to the many different creative industries that are actually very close to where we are now. I mean, there's just a million careers you can have that are creative. Yeah, so I think, you know, I know that the private schools are doing this, and I just want it also to be offered to our public schools, because I think that that's, you know, I think how we build up the school system is also how we build up the community, and we want to have that top notch. And that's, you know, what we're competing with around us is, you know, the Greenwich Country Days and Green Farms, and there's a plethora of private schools. And it's a shame that Norwalk can't, I mean, I didn't mean to say shame, because I actually don't. I think there's very good schools here, but as a whole, the whispers I hear is that it's not the best school system that we could have. And I think that this, you know, is one of the ways we can kind of puff up and grow the public schools, which I just think is so important.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Naomi.
More
keep
to
it up.
come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get in touch with the powers that be, and let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
All right, last thing in new business is just general committee member updates. I personally don't have any updates from my side of the world. Anyone else have anything to update us on? I don't think there's anything floating out there. Okay,
No.
cool. And
Oh, yes,
last,
yes, I do actually. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
wanted to say,
What's up?
just to bring it back to the fore about that Mayor's Gallery project.
oh yeah,
Because I think that we have $11,000. If we could do 10 for the let's say for the music thing, if we could peel off 1,000 to cover the printing costs, I'd really like to follow through on the work that was done on the Mayor's Gallery exhibit, just for everybody knew, prior to the Arts Commission changing over to the Arts and Culture Commission, I had come up with a project where we have essentially in City Hall, outside of the mayor's office, there's a space that we call the Mayor's Gallery. The current exhibit that's up is something that we curated through the Arts Commission probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And that's,
oh geez,
so that's
really
like,
that old?
yeah, it's representing, it was like the history of the Norwalk Fire Department.
That was Helen Roman did that.
Yeah, Helen Roman. I'd come up with
I've
an
seen that. I
Yeah,
did not know it was just an exhibit. It looked very permanent.
yeah.
Well, it's been here for 5 years. It might as well be.
I think it's on. I think she
You're
mounted them on
pre-COVID.
foam core.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just foam core. So I had come up with an idea to do something called Made in Norwalk, which was basically to feature music artists who were born in Norwalk, and going back to some of the more famous and prominent ones, like Horace Silver, who was a very famous jazz musician from Norwalk. But I would like to take it up to the more modern contemporary musicians who are from Norwalk, even some younger ones. So I kind of like it would be like a photo exhibit of these artists. But I would also have a QR code where when people scan the code, they can get a sample of the music on their mobile devices. The work has basically been done. I just I just want to move it forward and would just need some printing costs for G-Way, which is our vendor. And I'd like to see it through if you guys are open to the idea. I don't know if you guys, probably need to vote on this, even though we had voted under the old commission. I think we technically wouldn't have to vote on it.
Yeah, it's not on our agenda, but can we vote on this, Sabrina, or do we need to add it to next month?
It could be next month. I'm in no rush.
Can I just interject a
We
point?
have to wait until, sorry, we have to wait until next month because it's not on the agenda that we're voting on it.
Right, right.
Fair.
The wheels of government.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been over a year.
I just wanted to interject one point. I
Yeah.
love Nate from,
I'm in a meeting.
Thank you, Nori.
what happened?
She said she's in a meeting.
Oh, okay. Can I talk? I don't know. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Mission to speak. So Mark, I love that made in New York or Norwalk idea. One, do we have enough music artists, and would we want to open it up beyond?
Tons. You wouldn't believe how many well-known and accomplished musicians we have from Norwalk.
Okay.
I know you're going to go with this, Bob, but I mean, we can basically do whatever
Well, I'm
we
just
want with
saying
the Mayor's Gallery.
there's other
you know.
there's notable names that came out of Norwalk that, athletes, whatever. But I mean, I love music. So if Mark says there's tons, then I'm fine.
Well, we'll start with music, and then let's keep moving with other stuff. I mean, by all means, we certainly don't need exhibitions be up for 5 years of fire department photographs. So
Yeah.
not to disparage the fire department.
Count me in to help out on that one if you want.
Bob, if you want to help on just reviewing the placement of from a graphical standpoint, that would be fantastic.
Thanks, Bob.
I was going to ask you offline if you'd help.
Yeah, no, I'd like to help. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Anyone else with
I
an
do
update?
have my hand up. Sorry, this is
Oh,
Melissa.
sorry, Melissa. Yeah, sorry. I wasn't looking
That's
at the
okay.
speaker.
So
Yeah.
polite.
That's okay. Hey, Mark, we do have a lot of money in our budget. I know that you were interested in doing some kind of way to present the tracks at the museum type thing. I mean, I feel like we could probably find some way to make that happen and
Yes.
make it more entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I basically would like, I mean, that's a great idea. If we could, I mean, it is the mayor's office. I don't know, what we could do with that. For now, the QR code is what I have. If there's I'm open to other ideas.
And I
I'll
have,
take a look at something and see
Bob,
for you.
What's that?
I also
Melissa, you
wanted
first,
to
then.
maybe,
I'm sorry, Nora, you first, then Melissa.
could we, if we're gonna be spending money, could we add to the agenda the traffic graphic boxes? Especially the ones that are in dire need of repainting? And just
Well,
add that for
yeah.
next month agenda?
Yeah, let's talk about that next month for sure.
Yeah.
Sabrina has some thoughts on that too, so that is definitely a good thing to talk about next month.
Did in the past, did we talk about Bob spearheading that program? Did we talk about that?
We had kind of an email floating around, and then Bob told me to basically get lost. So
Well, not in those words, but hold on. I intimately know about the program, so I'm happy to help, but to field a lot of the artists and help them with the paperwork, it's a lot of work. Like it's
well,
a
I
lot
think
of work.
the intention with that program is to make it more streamlined, so we're not having to jump through some of those hoops, which something that Sabrina and I had briefly discussed before. But let's definitely chat about it offline and bring it up next meeting and see if we can get something really moving on that,
We gotta
because
make it
it's
easy.
sitting there waiting for us to just
Yeah,
do something.
totally.
Yeah,
We
let's
should make it easy.
remember that it being a new commission, this isn't technically a new
Yeah.
program. We're not bound by how we operated in the past. It just
Yeah.
has to be redefined and then implemented.
Yep. So I agree. Okay. And last thing on our list is just to vote on the Vine relocation. Mark, myself, Steve and Nori met last week and chatted about this, about just some different ideas. And just to remind everybody, what we're doing here now is purely to make a recommendation to redevelopment. They are handling this in whatever capacity needs to be handled. They're spending their money on this. They're just looking for us to make the recommendation. Now, the hope is that after we do this, and after this thing actually, grows some legs and gets moving, that we intend to reach out to the artist to maybe try to loop him in and get him involved in the process in some way, or maybe advise on it, or whatever. That also is not something that we're necessarily going to hash out right now. So yeah, so that's kind of where we stand with it. And this is where our big West Avenue mural from Ernesto and Sunny is going to go. So we need to kind of get it moving so we can actually get that money spent and mural. And again, this isn't a discussion about if we should or shouldn't. It's basically already been decided that redevelopment wants to move it to make way for this mural, which we are overseeing. So with that said, basically Steve's suggestion from last meeting of the Maritime Garage seems to be the best possible from a variety of different standpoints. One, visibility. Two, it's really it's a preferred location in that the experience of someone viewing this artwork on the side of the Maritime Garage really tips its hat to the art. As much, what I would say, it's a better viewing experience. Simply put, on West Avenue going 35 miles an hour, no one's walking on West Avenue looking at this piece. Most people don't know it says anything. People think it's just plop art, blah, 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 blah. So putting it on the side of the Maritime Garage gives people a moment to sort of linger and really look at it. And the intention, our suggestion is that also the plaque, which also nobody really knows exists, is actually going to be hopefully expanded to say a little bit more about what this project is, and maybe even to the point where we have a graphic that start to key in some of the words and phrases that are used. It may not say, excuse me, it may not say welcome in a variety of languages, which is, I think, the misconception. Mark discovered an article saying that it was words and phrases pulled from the Norwalk community. So it may be, we don't know what it says, actually. Something we want to ask the artist. So the intention is side of the Maritime Garage with a plaque, hopefully some sort of lighting so it can be seen from maybe even the river, and people will be able to sit and linger with this piece of artwork in a much more meaningful way. Mark brought up a point about making sure our sort of PR around this was correct too. And that being, seeing this in a more meaningful way would probably be our spin, which is true. It is a more meaningful viewing experience. Because I'm sure the question will be raised, well, blah, 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 blah. The city spent XYZ on it, and now we're spending XYZ to move it. So this gives us some talking points there. Anyway, the only other plan B we could really come up with, we don't have a lot of space in the city to put a large wall-based sculpture, would be to actually break it up. It is in sort of sections, break it up and put it in strategic locations. But, after chatting, we think it's probably best not to really give a plan B, just because also breaking it up in this way is, I don't know. I personally feel it's not really true to the original intention of the art. But so that is what is up for a vote. Before we motion for said vote, does anyone have anything to add?
Did we figure out how long the Maritime Garage space is compared to the length of this 800? Well, it's 800 feet wide, I believe, of this art piece.
We didn't. If I had to kind of make a generalized guess, I'd say it's 75 feet, 100 feet wide, and it's what, 4 or 5 stories. So
so maybe multiple stories. Is that what
you're thinking? Yeah, I was thinking that it would be sort of,
of it.
I think it would have to be stacked, sort of split up between the floors.
Yeah.
Again, this is something that we'd hope that the artist would advise on.
The artist has got to get involved to figure that one out, because he.
But first, we need to have the place. I don't want to muddy up the process with contacting him and just to have him object or start to make other suggestions. I mean, really, this is redevelopment's baby, and it's the city technically owns it. So, but I agree that once this process really gets going, it's going to be I think it's very important to at least give him an opportunity to say something about it.
Well, here's the thing is that, once we approve relocating it and redevelopment says we are willing to pay for it, now it gives us a chance to say to the artist, we are not decommissioning this piece.
Right.
We are not destroying this piece. We have voted to move it and we are looking for an alternate location. And we would like your, we're being very definite. We're not saying we're thinking of moving this.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because then that.
Right.
Right.
Right. It's like, we're moving it here. We want you involved.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
hopefully we can come up with some sort of stipend in order to cover those costs
Like a
for an
consultant.
advisory,
A consulting fee for him helping us
Yeah.
as far as like the installation and whatnot.
or well, redevelopment, hopefully come up with that money, not us. But
Yeah.
anyone else have something to say on this before we vote?
No, but I'll make a motion for it to be approved.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Steve. All right, I'll start. Brian Casper, I vote aye to suggest this location to redevelopment. Bob Abriola,
Aye.
Mark Allen,
With the stipulation that we still have the approval of the actual location if it's not this one.
I
Can
think
we
that's probably
stipulate
another
that?
vote.
Do we still
Yes,
get
we would-
the approval of the
yes.
final location?
Yes, we would. We would just, if it ends up not working out, we would just have to come back with another location to vote on. They won't just
Okay.
move it and take it down.
And I vote aye.
Noted. Okay, Nori Gruden,
Aye.
Stephen Rest,
Aye.
Naomi Clark,
Aye.
and Melissa Matuska.
Aye.
Oh, the ayes carry unanimously. Excellent. We have a new proposed location for our loved yellow vine sculpture. Okay, that is it for the agenda. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So
Almost.
Melissa, I motion.
I'll
Thank you. Do I
second.
have a second? Thank you, Mark. Brian Casper, vote aye. Bob Abriola,
Aye.
Mark Allen,
Aye.
Nori Gruden,
Aye.
Stephen Rust,
Aye.
Naomi Clark,
Aye.
and Melissa Matuska.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned. See you all in a month or
You guys.
offline.
Bye-bye.
Brian, I'll get back to you next week.